Okay, so we have ourselves a Connor versus Connor showdown happening later tonight, but because this is going to be a big deal, we have to squeak in this video here before everything commences. Today we're talking about the Edmonton Oilers and an update in regards to their goaltender that is making $5 million a year and is in the AHL right now, Jack Campbell. Not a surprise, this has been a topic that's been on the back burner for a while. I will say there has been a lot more time for this to marinate, let's just say, compared to a few weeks ago when he initially got sent down and it was the biggest deal in the world. Jack Campbell is supposed to be an NHL caliber goaltender, but plain and simple, long story short, he is not. He signed with the Oilers a few years ago, he played with the Oilers last season, had an .888 save percentage, and this year he's at an .873 save percentage in 5 games played. He was bad. And we had talked about earlier in the month, I believe it was, or no, I think it was last month, we talked about how Jack Campbell's start to his AHL campaign was also really bad. And look, man, I really don't know what else there is to say in regards to trying to defend this guy, because when you're a $5 million goaltender who is playing as poorly as you are in the AHL, it gets really difficult to project NHL success into the future. And we had ourselves a few tidbits of information being leaked out there from a few different insiders saying, okay, the Oilers have a plan. They want to give Campbell sort of a reins to be able to improve. They want to give him a few stretches of games in the AHL. They want him to essentially string together wins. And once he gets to a point where he's looking good, he's starting to regain his confidence, and he's looking more like the Jack Campbell that was, at the very least, NHL caliber, let alone being the Jack Campbell that was doing all the great things he did in November a few years ago with the Maple Leafs. If he's able to get back to that caliber of goaltending, then they can bring him up and everything could be good again, right? Well, here's the thing. Jack Campbell in the AHL has not found a way to string together wins. Sure, he gets some wins here and there, but he always ends up faltering back and having a dud of a game afterwards. Right now with the Bakersfield Condors, Campbell has an .894 save percentage and a .322 goals against average. Sure, his numbers are technically better in the AHL than they were in the NHL last year, but that's a really low bar. And when you take a look at some of the analyses and goals that are going in recently, I mean, we had ourselves a tweet made by Carmen Gill showcasing the goals that Jack Campbell allowed against the Ontario Reign 3 nights ago. Both of these goals were on the rush where the opposing forward just comes right in and takes a shot from far out, and Jack Campbell is not in position, he doesn't make the save, and he looks bad when they go in. Not great. Now, Jack Campbell still playing poorly in the AHL, not really improving significantly. I don't think that's too much of a surprise in most people's eyes, especially considering just how poorly he was playing in the NHL, but we did have ourselves an update that kind of indicates what's going on here. It comes to us via Tom Gazzola on his own podcast. Now, you might recognize Gazzola, he's done stuff for NHL Network in the past, but he does have his own show, the Oil Stream Podcast, wherein he shared a few updates that he's heard around the Jack Campbell conversation. To help us out, we're going over onto NHLTradeTalk.com because an article from yesterday, Oilers getting close to a resolution with Jack Campbell, highlights what it is that Gazzola notes on his podcast. Take a look at the first paragraph here. Edmonton Sports Talk host Tom Gazzola noted today on the Oil Stream podcast that the Oilers are being very proactive in moving Jack Campbell. Not only that, but he says the conclusion that Jack Campbell with the Oilers is closer than initially anticipated. He doesn't believe it's a buyout, which means a trade seems imminent if Gazzola's information is accurate. The quote here reads, "They do everything in their power to not have to eat half of Jack Campbell's contract for the next 6 years, and maybe it costs them a first rounder. I hope it doesn't. I do think the end of Jack Campbell as an Oiler is much closer than initially anticipated." Gazzola says the Oilers are doing everything they can to not eat money. They would probably be more inclined to deal with losing a draft pick or a prospect. The article then highlights that we've seen all the rumors about the Oilers scouting a bunch of other teams looking for a bunch of other goalies. We had talked about the Korpisalo conversation, the Merzlikins conversation, not Korpisalo, excuse me, that's my bad. The Montembeault conversation, and then there's an entire thing going down with the San Jose Sharks. This article actually concludes that San Jose may be the best fit if you're trying to get a Mackenzie Blackwood or something out of there. But at the end of the article, this is what is said. The assumption by many is that Edmonton would be trying to acquire a goaltender in any deal that moves Campbell out. That may not be the case, though. If Cal Pickard can do a suitable job as a backup, there's no need for Edmonton to rush things. Specifically, the Oilers don't need to make a panic trade for someone. Instead, this could be a two-step process. First, move Campbell and free up the space. Second, keep an eye out for a goalie that may shake loose over the next month or two. Pickard was rock steady, and if he plays well, he gives the Oilers options. If he's making solid, timely saves, the Oilers can avoid a terrible trade or rushing Jack Campbell back into the NHL. So here is our update essentially. It's that the Oilers are really trying to get this done. They're trying to move this guy out. And based off of some insider information, it's apparent that a trade may be closer than we all thought it would be. Initially, you could say, hey, $5 million goalie, he is not good, he's not playing in the NHL, he's struggling in the AHL. How in the world are the Oilers going to move this guy? And really, if it boils down to the Oilers having to pay a significant price to get this guy off their books, then I feel like they may have no choice but to go down that path, explore a trade involving a prospect and a first and Jack Campbell or something. The price to move on from this guy is going to be really high. And there will be teams out there in the NHL that have the space to do it. It's just, these are not really the teams that will take on a bad contract for free. They need to be paid to do this. There's a service being exchanged here for the quantity and value of assets. So, for Jack Campbell, I mean, I'm still kind of disappointed seeing how everything went down. I don't think anybody's going to disagree there. Like, obviously, I've been saying it the entire time. When we have good players that are exhibiting talent, we want to see them exhibit that gosh darn talent. We don't want to see guys falter off and struggle and get beat down over and over by the fans and by the media like Jack Campbell has, because we recognize he's talented at the end of the day. It's just that talent has gone elsewhere, and we have no idea where it went to. Even last year, his numbers were not great. It was Stuart Skinner who had to come in here and pick up the load, carry the Oilers into the playoffs, eventually losing in the second round. Pickard actually has been alright too ever since getting called up, and then you still have Stuart Skinner who has done pretty alright for himself this season, especially after the terrible start that he had. His numbers still aren't looking all too great, but at the very least he's starting to string together some wins. So, for Jack Campbell and the Oilers, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this entire thing here? I also wanted to say one more very minor detail that I don't think anybody really cares about, but I thought would be interesting to talk about too. You may have noticed the thumbnail for this video actually does have some Jack Campbell Bakersfield stuff, and I wanted to say that I'm really proud of being able to find the image in the first place, because my goodness, do the Bakersfield Condors have no good social media websites to go out there and post their pictures on. Instagram, Facebook, like if you go to their page, a lot of the recent pictures of goaltenders are of Cal Pickard from like 2 months ago. It's so outdated. These guys need to start posting more of their stuff on their social medias. I was able to find the Jack Campbell image in this video through the Bakersfield Condors gosh darn Flickr account. Like, man, I get it, Flickr is a great website for sharing pictures. I actually do have one myself. I made one for radio school. But yeah, the lengths you gotta go through to find the appropriate images to make thumbnails out of, right? Because totally, I get it. I'm technically stealing everything that I use to make thumbnails, but I don't know, it's transformed enough that I could get away with it, I think. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Jack Campbell update, that the Oilers are trying to trade him soon, and they're probably closer than we think. There's probably going to be a price here attached, but that's not really too much of a surprise. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section either way about how Jack Campbell has been playing, about the trade situation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.